Hello and good evening for this Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. We have just finished watching the 8th episode of Survivor 48, titled A Rift Between All of Us. But there is no rift here on Super Mario Brothers Podcast, a live stream here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or audio version. I'm Dave Mader, and I'm not on my game tonight, I feel like. I'm also joined here with my brother Jeff Mader, who's missed 7 episodes of this show so far. He's been working night and day, and he's back with us to talk all about it. We also have Jaemeel Robinson. He's drinking not milk out of that milk jug. It's just water. We also got Foster with us, coming to us from Hyrule. Here to break down.
Always ready to battle.
Challenge. Spoilers if you have not finished watching the 8th episode of Survivor 48, titled A Rift Between All of Us. But we have our second jury member, everyone, and it's Chrissy. So.
And the crowd goes mild.
The crowd goes mild, although she was winning me over here in the end of the episode, everyone, where she said, you know, what are we doing? We're letting this alliance steamroll us, and we're all going to get picked off one by one. She's right, and she's the first casualty. She's just trying to get something going, but the strong 5 or maybe 6 with Mary sometimes attached to it, and we're going to break it all down. Jeff. Yeah. We haven't even talked about this on the air or off the air this whole season of Survivor. What have you been thinking about it?
Honestly, this is my first episode tonight. I've not watched any of it, and I felt like I didn't need to. Once I learned the characters real quick. This was a great episode to jump right into the season. I wish I could watch every season of Survivor like this. I don't need a lot of this pre-merge stuff, to be honest.
No, you missed stuff, dude. You missed
I'm sure I did.
David and his girlfriend.
David had a girlfriend?
Well, maybe.
I was calling him John Bernthal the whole episode.
He's discount Chris Evans.
We got John Bernthal and we got Jose Bautista. And
you mean Shaheen?
Shaheen is Jose Bautista.
No, he's the lead singer from System of a Down.
Oh,
I think he's the president of El Salvador.
Yeah, he's all 3 of those things combined into one person. And it's I don't know, some of the characters. Okay, basically I got the gist of what happened in the season. Basically it was like
you missed so much though, Jeff. Come on.
Okay, well, fill me in, because this will make good for good conversation and good podcasting.
Okay, well, high level.
Well, let's hear Jeff's gist first. I think let's hear this gist first before we give
him any information.
Jeff? What do you think's going on, Jeff?
Well, there was 3 girls in this episode, and there was a bunch of meatheads. And I'm watching this episode, and I'm like, these guys are not particularly good players. I'm listening to their DRs, and I'm like, this Joe guy, he thinks he has it all figured out, and he just seems like a little neurotic. He kind of reminds me of like like Willie Hantz, or like he's kind of he's got a Hantz vibe to him, this Joe guy. But like if he was jacked. And then this David guy just seems like kind of like the classic Survivor player that's like just good at challenges but has no idea how to play the game. Like that's kind of his thing, it seems like. So who's the guy that wanted to save
Kyle?
Kyle. Actually, he was the only guy I thought tonight that was actually like a good player. Like nobody else seemed to have really any like savviness to them. They all were kind of like one way. Yeah, not really. I wasn't impressed. Like, I get he was the head of the snake. Eva seemed like the one that I feel like has the best chance to win. I thought she was the most, out of everybody. She seemed the most impressive to me. Because she was, she just seemed like she was in a good spot in the game. Like she was like in control, but not the big target. Like exactly where you want to be when you're like in the final 8-9 people or whatever it is. And then like some of these other players like Star and who's the other girl they wanted to get out tonight?
Camilla.
No, not Camilla. Yeah, and Mary seemed like she could do well, but she's gonna have to really win challenges down the road. but Camilla's gone. Like she's like she was allowed. She just let Kyle do everything for her today.
I remember who you still have. Mary, yeah, you have Mary in the draft.
Yeah, I drafted Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's still kicking.
Yeah, what happened to my boy Justin? What happened to him?
He got to advertise his pizza shop, and that was basically it.
Yeah, it was like there's a whole story about Justin to tell, in of itself. But
Well, tell me what happened to him.
That whole green tribe, Jeff, in the beginning of the game got really beat up on in the challenges. So
you missed the person who was the Rome of this season. She got eliminated.
There was the Rome of this season. Her name was Say. She just got voted out last episode.
Oh, I saw the recap. Yeah.
Yeah. She was, she was like voted out at merge, but not a juror. She's kind of like that weird spot.
Yeah.
And
unfair,
Cedric was also part of that tribe. He became
Cedric, the
unentertaining.
Zero upper body strength at all. So just imagine going on to Survivor where you have to pull up your body weight, and he could not do that repeatedly. It became an issue.
There was a pretty big episode where Mary was going to get voted out, and then she played her shot in the dark, and she saved herself. And then Justin, your other draft pick, he had no vote, but he didn't tell anyone, including Cedric, who was his strongest ally. And so there was like multiple revotes where everything was tied, and eventually it was tied between Justin and Say, and Cedric had to pick between them, and Justin was his ally, but Justin was just like, well, I did lie, and it's not going to reflect well on my pizza shop. And so basically Cedric decided to flip it, even though he had voted for Say twice in that tribal council. Okay. And he kept her around until eventually she voted him out, or helped vote him out. No, or she tried to vote him out the previous episode.
Yeah,
but she tried. It wasn't the right call. He should have kept Justin, but he didn't. And so anyway, there was the whole thing with the Green Tribe. Then they swapped them up for a while. And Mary's doing much better in the post swap world because she made friends with David, who
likes hanging out with women. He likes to big brother them.
Yeah. So there's a whole thing going on there,
but not Camilla.
Yeah. You saw here that the Siva tribe is the strongest still going here in the post merge, with only having lost up until this episode one member, but another member here, Chrissy, goes in this episode, so leaving Mitch, Camilla, Kyle, and David still in the game.
David is a stuntman. He wanted to propose to his girlfriend, but she was not too keen on him not being able to make money. So he hopes
you got to make enough money so that I don't have to work. If you can't do that so that I don't have to work and I can just raise the kids, then no go. And he's like, I'm so ashamed of myself. I live in a trailer park across from my dad's house.
Across from his dad's house. He loves milk just like Joe. Both of them love milk.
Big time.
Big. Oh, sorry. No, skim. Was it 2% milk is for wussies?
Yeah, it's a whole milk. It's all about
whole milk or bust.
I agree. I've converted to whole milk.
And guess what, David? He's tired of the big strong men being taken advantage of and being abused in Survivor. It's about time they've stood up for their own rights here and form an alliance. They don't want to be the shields. They don't want to be the meat shields anymore. No,
for too long.
It's happened for too long. That these muscle
the big white men have never had their way,
and their looks and everything, and all, it's not right. It has to end, Foster.
It's all these scheming.
As Bo Burnham would say, it's tough being a straight white male, or just a straight male in this game. Sorry for the Joe and the
Foster, you just want me to be included. I appreciate you still. It's okay.
Well, I was thinking of Kyle. I was thinking of Kyle when I said that. But yes, of course, looking at you too, Jaemeel, right? You represent the key demographic there. So
not only are they straight white males, but they're also extremely fit. And they're young and they're prime of their life. Like they're not,
and they're all good at things. Like
they're all good at things.
whether it be puzzles or anything else. But Yeah.
None of these weak people, these weak schemers scheming.
Yeah.
So we're going to scheme, but we're scheming but we're good because we're strong.
We need to get out a 55-year-old woman here tonight. You know, that's how we're going to show we're strong.
That kind of explained everything to me tonight. I was just like, okay, so you had a chance between two women. There's only 3 women left. And one of them, was there 4? Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's 4. But like they couldn't take Eva out because she wanted immunity. Right.
Right.
And it seemed like Mary was like on their side. So it was
Mary's on David's side.
And David's allying with Joe and Eva.
Yeah,
that's what it seemed like to me. Like the big alliance was like Joe.
And Kyle
Eva,
is also
David,
doing that, but I don't really understand it. Like if I was Kyle tonight, I would have said to David, like, if you get Mary, then why can't I have Camilla as like a number potentially, right? Like,
but Camilla's with Shaheen, who's also in their alliance.
Kinda.
Why didn't they just vote Shaheen out tonight?
But Shaheen's in the alliance. He's in the strong 5.
Yeah, but like, so what?
But he's not one of the 5. He's not one of the 5.
He's supposed to be.
He's like the 7th member.
Shaheen is like, to me, a way bigger threat than Chrissy. It seems to make a lot more sense to vote him out.
Camilla's a way bigger threat than Chrissy. Everyone's a bigger threat than Chrissy. Yeah, really.
Well, why didn't they get rid of Mitch? That was just obvious. Forget about Mitch.
Mitch was forgotten about. Star was forgotten about.
Yeah, there was a bunch of players they could have voted out tonight. And they chose, you're right, the oldest, somebody with no seemingly alliance member, the one that would never win in the final jury, in the final tribal council. It made no sense to vote her out. It made 0 sense to me.
It's great in terms of
the last.
Sorry,
go ahead, Jimmy. Okay,
Foster,
the last 3 people.
I miss your golden voice, please.
Oh yes, my golden voice with my shittiest mic, eh?
Just imagine you would make me tears come if you started talking in a great mic. So this is just for my benefit. Thank you, Foster.
I know we're gonna work on that, folks. We're gonna work on that, but I'm cheap and I'm
it's
one
functional.
Thing at a time.
Don't.
I'm spending too much money on Lego and Hyrule Swords, as you can tell behind me.
Foster, you and Becky need to have a conversation.
What?
About you and Becky need to have a conversation. She's a brickhead. She's
Oh yeah. Okay, well that's good to know. Well, back to the show. The last 3 votes, Jeff, and like we mentioned it before, but the last 3 votes since the pre-merge merge were all easy votes. None of those people, all 3 of those people, at least 1 or 2 of them, would have survived till final 5 in the past seasons because they wouldn't have been a threat for the final 3.
Charity, Say, and Cedric were the
No. I wasn't including Charity, but I was including Chrissy tonight. So Chrissy, Say, and Cedric, right?
Okay.
Like none of those would have been a threat for final 3. You would have seen
neither was Charity.
Seasons. No, even Charity. Yeah, you could say Charity. Well, Charity actually had an ally in, Mitch, but it wasn't like any. It was more so verbal.
It was more that Eva didn't want her in the game, and I felt like tonight that it was kind of Eva and also Mary who didn't want Camilla kind of in the game. They kind of wanted her out.
Yeah. Well, I was a little surprised when they had that because that was the thing too for you, Jeff. It was kind of misperception as to who's in charge because they had that one scene where it was David, Mary, Joe, Ava, and Kyle, which I was a little confused with because Shaheen's supposed to be the 5th and Mary's the 6th, right? So I don't know where he was during that discussion.
And Shaheen's the 7th.
Well, no,
Strong
he
5.
was original. Okay. So what you said before, Jeff, about Ava, so she's kind of in a position where she is very strong and very everyone knows about her idol because it was given to her actually by Star. She basically solved her puzzle to get the immunity idol, and everyone knows about it, right? So it's not like it was, but she's how do I put this? She's not shielded by Joe, it's almost like she's overshadowed by Joe.
They're a strong duo. Chrissy described them as a couple tonight, which was kind of weird.
Which was odd. I don't know why.
It's more of a parental kind of thing where Joe is. Joe and Eva.
They're a couple of Survivor players. I get it, or a couple of friends, if you will.
Should be a pair, but
it's a weird
thing that you didn't
choice of words.
Yeah, but the thing that you didn't see though, Jeff, was that so on this season there's the two, and obviously, and Mitch is more visual in the sense that he's got the speech impediment, obviously, right? So he's got a disability. Ava's autistic. She's on the spectrum. I don't know if you knew that or not. And her bond with Joe.
Eva.
Okay.
Yeah.
And her bond with Joe came very, very. It was like first episode, I think, where she basically told Joe, looking at him as a father figure, if I get into this spiral, have an episode or whatever, this is how you help me out, kind of thing, right? And it had actually happened at the end of a challenge. And they weren't even on the same. This was when they had the mixed tribes, and Joe kind of like Jeff allowed him to cross alliance lines to comfort her. So that once again, like everything with Ava, as much as she's in a powerful position, it's not been brought up like in a sneaky way. Like the idol was given to her with people around. Joe comforted her, and she told about her, her actual situation publicly, right? So it's not like she's been kind of like, oh, like we need to get her out because she's been hiding, she's been scheming and stuff. But with Joe, first of all, he's looking at Ava like it's his kid, right? Like he's protecting her. And so it's not that scheming kind of duo that is more so you see with Kyle and Camilla. But at the same time, though, like not like previous seasons where the strong, like as you said, Jeff, sort of like meatheads, if you want to call them, athletic types, they really connected once the merge hit in terms of like Kyle, David, right. Joe, Ava, and Shaheen in terms of that physically strong. And Shaheen hasn't been very good in challenges though. So just wanted to kind of clarify a little bit of the background because Ava, you're right, is probably in the best position, I would say, guys, if she makes it. I'm not really sure. Like, it should probably be top 3 easily in terms of options to win it.
Yeah, like I think that there was even talk tonight. Like we'd love to break up Eva and Joe, but they're obviously no one's really wanted to make that move right now. So they're picking off smaller targets at the moment in this point in the game. This is all gonna like eventually crash into each other with all these big competitors and. Are going to have to target each other. It's coming very soon. Like there's only so many numbers left. You saw a little bit of that in the preview potentially.
I didn't see the older cast.
It isn't old.
The ages, like there's only like 2 or 3 people in their 20s.
Yep.
Yeah, Justin was one of them. He was in his late.
Eva
20s.
Is 24.
Yeah, she plays on her college's men's hockey team.
Okay, and then Star is 28, and other than that, everyone else is either 30 or above.
Star used to be a basketball player.
Right. Well, the 2 oldest people here, Cedric and Chrissy, become the first 2 members of the jury. Coincidentally, they're also the 2 members of Team Sean in our draft.
And Joe's 45, so is he going next?
No.
No, I think Joe's in a pretty good spot, but also in the preview, you saw that David is not too happy with Joe. Coming out.
I don't imagine David's going to go far in the game. That's the vibe I got from that guy.
Dave, like, there's a way to take control and kind of push an agenda, and there's what David did, and David is the bad way to do it because he literally just put a line in the sand and just said, "We're doing it this way." And then anytime someone said anything otherwise, it was, why are you trying to complicate it? You just cut them off.
It's not complicated, Jaemeel. It's not complicated. What's the problem?
What's the problem?
Yeah.
You literally questioned their decision making.
You're making me nervous. Look, where are you coming from?
I got abs. Do you got abs? All right.
Do you have 4 nipples? I know you only have 2.
I got a mole.
We can still work together.
Problem solved.
Sorry, wart. I got a wart.
Kyle's got the no. It's he think. What does he think it is? He doesn't think it's a
callus.
He thinks it's a callus,
callus
or something. Yeah, I'm like, that's not a callus, but okay. Well, what else in this episode, everybody, or Foster? Before we move into the episode, is there anything from the season that we haven't told Jeff about so far in these 7 episodes we watched already?
Like in terms of like who's around, like honestly, Jeff, it was obviously frustrating, but it was looking back, it was really funny to see how Say interacted as Dave said, the Rome of this season. Just totally unaware of her own self.
These people are obsessed with me.
It was just, you should have seen the way that she, like never on the right side of the vote, but thinking that she had like, don't like, like very hypocritical, like don't
stalking Mary.
We're good. And then like, she's
dead she had this thing with Mary. Like she was just one of these weird types where, if you're like in her face, she likes you more than if you are not socializing with her enough or whatever. And so she had this whole thing with Shaheen one morning that I think the last episode, right before she got voted out here. Like she was not going to win the game. She was like, the only reason you keep her around is because you want to sit next to her at the end. But you might even lose respect from the jury for doing so because she's such a bad player.
Lots of people said that about the girl that did win. That was from Kitchener or whatever.
Erica?
No, the other one. The other one,
Marianne?
Marianne, yeah. Everyone said that about Marianne.
But she did actually make some moves at the end.
She did at the end.
Yeah, but the whole the whole first half of the game, she was considered a joke. So maybe Say just needed. I don't know. I didn't watch her, but maybe she just needed. Like,
well, Say's ending line was just like, "If you kept me in, they would have all been gone."
Maybe she was right.
If she made it to the end, a good portion of them would have been gone, so she would have been correct.
Look at this, like the new Survivor, anyone can freaking win. Like the way I look at it now, like Chrissy could have won this game. Like that's how crazy Survivor is now.
Even me,
anybody, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jaemeel, you would be the top threat voted out first days.
Really?
I would be suspicious.
Yeah,
can't swim.
This guy's too smart though.
Yeah, he's laughing too much. What's up? What is he thinking about? Why is he smiling?
He's in too good
so
of a
much?
mood. We don't like this. We need people who are surly. We need Davids.
We need David.
We need more Davids. We need more Carolyns from 43. All right. Well, let's get into this episode then. So in terms of, of course, Chrissy is eventually the one voted out. But before all that happened, we were coming off of the vote out of Cedric and of Say because, because they were split into 2 groups in the previous tribal. And they kind of go, oh, who's not with your group? Was it Cedric? Oh, okay, who cares? And that's mostly how the audience feels too. There was no blow up, there was no fireworks about any of it. I think was there anything else in was anyone feeling particularly vulnerable? I felt like it was mostly just talk of the Strong 5 alliance and that kind of stuff.
I felt like it was either going to be obviously Chrissy, or I thought Camilla, but I was like, I didn't really understand why. I was like, what are these guys doing? Like, none of them want to turn on each other. I was like, why didn't Kyle rally the votes? Like, he could have got Mitch, he could have got Camilla. That's 3. What was the vote tonight?
Well,
Star didn't have a vote, right? So he would have.
There was only one vote against. Everyone voted for Chrissy except for Chrissy, who voted for Shaheen.
Okay,
was proclaiming Joe.
So, but say you went to Chrissy and Shaheen, and then you had Mitch and Kyle. That's 4 votes. Could you not have voted out Joe?
Mitch probably would have looped in David.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's posturing. They're like, "Oh, not this vote, next vote." Then you make the big move. But everyone's sort of
just saying, it wasn't. There was no urgency to flip it. None of them wanted to do that.
Which I think that was the problem because it just seemed like a surefire, easy vote. Everyone coming back from the previous tribal was like, "It's Chrissy, right? It just makes sense, right? Everyone knows it's Chrissy." She was calling out our group basically. Let's just get Chrissy out, and then we can move on from there. And then Mary and David just came in with all this energy trying to push an agenda, and I think it kind of, if there was any chance of any type of any other vote, it kind of died because of how strong they were pushing it. Right?
right.
And how they wouldn't hear anything else because the story became not even just like who else besides that suggestion. It was like, whoa, David and Mary are really pushing Camilla. And that became the story. It was that versus Chrissy. And that was it.
Eventually, yeah, because Kyle doesn't want to. Kyle is working with Camilla, but he doesn't want to expose that. Right.
I'm surprised he didn't loop in Shaheen into the conversation, or we didn't see the Shaheen and Joe conversation of like, yeah, they think that you might be a little bit too close to Camilla. It's like Shaheen would have been like, Camilla, like, no. And then Shaheen would have been like, why is, if I had a person I was close to, why is David getting his and not possibly me? Right. And I think it would have stirred up a whole conversation that, wouldn't worked out for the alliance as a whole. So I think they kind of sectioned these conversations off to try to minimize the amount of damage. But I think Shaheen is aware, obviously, from Kyle of what was going on. So I don't know if David's really in a secure place because, Jeff, if you didn't know, there used to be an alliance with a third member named Thomas between Joe Shaheen, and they were called the California Girls because they were all from California. Foster's a big fan of the name of that alliance, mind you. Right? But Thomas got voted out.
Bikinis on top.
Due to Kyle and Camilla working together down low to get Thomas out and kind of, cut the legs out of that a 3-person alliance.
I feel like it'd be very interesting, and I know, Jeff, you weren't here for it, but I feel like this part of the season would be very interesting if Thomas and Bianca were still around. I feel like they had a lot of potential, then they kind of went too
Thomas
soon.
and Bianca were big characters on this season for sure, and yeah, we lost them. There was some interesting people. Well, not Justin. Bianca for sure. Charity was interesting too. That we lost.
The flight attendant.
No one cared. No one cares about Kevin.
No, Kevin was awesome, man. He just
no one even remembers Kevin. No one.
He looks happy in that picture.
He was happy he was done. In how many?
He was happy, and then Cedric, being a bonehead, went with Justin and kept Say.
Yeah, he had a whole 5 days out there. He really rocked the game. But that's a lot.
That was only day 15. This is so pathetic.
Today is day 15. So in some ways, Jeff, you haven't missed that much. Like no, you have. No, I don't. You've missed like 3. You've missed like 60% of the season.
This new version of Survivor picked me up at the verge. I'm kind of feeling it. Like it's just like
I wish they would mix up this 3-tribe format. It's not that I hate the format. Yes. It's just like I'm just a little tired of the same format every single season.
No, I hate it.
And so I don't know. I guess they're trying to perfect the game.
2 tribes, final 2. It needs to go back.
39 days, 1 survivor.
1 survivor. Season 50 better fucking like.
I don't think you're getting it.
I don't think you're getting it for 50. I think we're gonna be lucky to get a live studio audience like finale.
You'll get it for 100, Jeff. You just gotta make it.
I don't need a live studio audience like reunion. That part I don't care about. But the 39 days, or at least somewhat close to that, like, is better.
I'd rather have Ponderosa. I'd rather have Ponderosa than a live studio audience, honestly.
I would actually like a change of scenery. I'd like to leave Fiji and go somewhere else.
Africa?
I'd never leave in Fiji. It's just going to be forever in Fiji.
How about China? They got some... They got some things going on. I don't know. They've gone to some. They used to go to interesting climates and challenging. It used to be more of a survival show, and
they
now
should
it's
merge Survivor and Alone and do like a Survivor.
Why not Survivor Amazing Race?
merge Naked and Afraid with this, and they will really have something, I think. But
yeah, I'm sure CBS would love that.
They should they should get whatever 20 contestants that were on Alone, and they get sent out there to play Survivor, and they don't give them anything, like literally, like other than survival items, like where like you get like a spear or you get like a net, but like you get no rice, you get nothing, like only food you catch.
these Survivor players couldn't handle it. These no.
These wouldn't be Survivor players.
He
These
said
Alone players.
alone players.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, maybe
these
they would
would-
be a better stock for such the thing, because now if you don't give people pizza for 2 days, they go crazy.
I know, it's insane.
How about this for Jeff? How about this for Jeff as a scenario? Survivor 50, not run by Survivor Jeff Probst. It's run by Survivor Australia team.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know Jeff.
No tacos for you.
No
Pizza
tacos.
under the stars.
Yes.
Pizza under
The
the
sun-
I have one last.
Fixins, why not?
I have one last proposal for Jeff for Survivor 50. If all else fails, just do a Hunger Games style, last man standing to the death.
They all die. Everyone dies. Probst is like, all right, you got to be killed.
Yeah, this is an actual. There's a sole survivor. That's it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it's an
now
actual
the Hunger
survivor.
Games.
I say make it an amazing race gauntlet where they go to like almost every single previous location of Survivor. You know, they spend at least 3 days there, so it's like literally more than like 50 days.
This is Survivor Squid Games.
Survivor Squid. Yep.
Well, let's talk about this episode some more, guys. So there was the challenge. They got a tree mail in this episode, and they had to go and go into pairs. So then there was talking
this
about
this was.
do we have
painful.
random
scene-
pairs, or
This
do
scene
we
was
have?
painful to watch.
And then finally,
like-
Joe said, "No, we're playing for money here. We should pick our partners."
No, Joe's like, oh, I'm just sitting there waiting, and then all of a sudden, this guy's like, I want to go with her. I'm like, perfect. All right, and then someone else speaks up. I'm like, dude, they're playing right into my hands. I'm like, what is going on this scene? This is horrible.
There was some weird things in this whole segment when they were picking the pairs, like because Shaheen pairs up with Camilla, and then at some point, like Kyle teams up with Chrissy or whatever, right? And Camilla goes, "I'm okay with Kyle having picked Chrissy because I don't want to show we're working together." I'm like, you were already on a pair though, Camilla. Like it was not even possible for him to pick you.
Or we're under the impression that things that were shown were in the order that it was shown.
Sure.
And that they occurred.
I'm going with that assumption until
just
proven
thought
wrong.
the whole thing being told from the perspective of Joe, I was just like, what is going on? Like, I was like, this guy's the mastermind of the season. Like,
He's the narrator of the season.
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Ellie, but
oh my god.
But like, did we not foresee like these pairings like winning? Like, oh, Joe and Ava, are they gonna win? I don't know. It seems kind of dicey. The two
David and-
strongest players.
I was watching this new show on Netflix last night. It was called
Devil May Cry.
The $1 Million Secret
Oh, okay.
with Darth Maul as the host.
Ray Park.
No, his name is like Kevin something. He's
Well, Darth Maul was played by Ray Park. I'm just saying.
this guy is Darth Maul. I swear.
Or he does the animated Clone Wars voice of Darth Maul.
No,
Isn't Ray Park the animated voice, Jaemeel?
No,
I'm talking about
No.
Peter Serafinowicz.
that does not sound like Darth Maul.
No, Ray Park.
You gotta pull
His
the
Thank
chat.
you.
Okay, so he was the voice of Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace, but not the physical actor.
Oh.
Because it was Ray Park.
Wow.
Ray Park was dubbed for bad acting.
So
Okay.
you're saying he's the
Okay.
he's the James Earl Jones, rest in peace, of Darth Maul.
He's the James Earl Jones. Anyway, it was called $1 Million Secret. It's kind of like The Traders, where you have they give you $1 million in your box, and you if people can't figure you out, you have it and whatever. Anyway, I was going somewhere with this story about why I was telling you this.
$1 million secret, you said?
The $1 million secret, and you had to come up with just a strategy for playing the game, right? And being ruthless and being comfortable with lying and everything else. I can't remember why I brought this show up.
Was anyone on the show very strong?
They're all strong, but
okay. They didn't want it. But they wanted to be strong. They're strong, and they only want to play with strong players, and they don't like deceit and people lying. But also want to deceit and lie as well.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of that going on. I would, it was interesting, but I guess the modern game show or like some, to make it interesting that's why I brought up, because in that game, they made everyone have to pick a pair. Okay. Everyone had to pick a partner, but then he was like, guess what? Now the person you thought was your partner is actually your opponent in this challenge. And I feel like that's a good twist.
Yeah, I was confused because usually when you get to choose the pairs, it usually works. It's not what you think, and it works against you, which is much more enjoyable to watch.
That's what they should have done here. I think the producers should have called an audible, because once they realized people were going to pick pairs based on just giving them the best chance to win. Because yes, often it is you get to that point where you're eventually going to be put against each other. And that's what happened, with the pairs that got to the final there. But that's not what happened. So I guess they already had it all planned out. Joe picks Eva. We talked about Shaheen and Camilla. There was also Kyle and Chrissy. David and Mary, now new besties. They teamed up, which left. Sorry.
So go ahead.
Which left the kind of the I don't know, the Mitch and Star, the unlikely pair, I would say.
Yeah.
Everyone else.
I would have been the jerk and go, I'll be with Joe. And Joe's like, no, we're not doing that.
No,
okay, I'll be with Eva. I would have immediately called it out. I'll be like, I'll be with Joe. They're like, Joe's like, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm with Eva. No, I'm not doing that. I'm with David. It's like, I wouldn't be with Mary. Okay, I'll be with Kyle. I'll just go down the list. Right? I just I'm surprised no one just jumped on it. If Chrissy really wanted to be this person who was calling out this BS, she should have immediately go, I'll be with the strongest person. Oh no, I can't be. Why? Oh, because you all are paired up. Well, right? See everyone? Right. There's the pecking order.
Well, they could have done a schoolyard pick. They could have picked it many different ways, but yeah. I don't know. It was kind of a long, kind of drawn out thing. Rebecca here cheering for Joe. Go, that was with the G.I. Joe rally cry, was it not? Go Joe.
Yes.
Ray Park was in that too.
Ray Park was it? Yeah, but did he do the voice, or was it Peter Serafinowicz or whatever? Anyway, so Foster, what did you think of the actual challenge itself? At the 3 phases, you had the pairs who had to get the food. They had to go through the steps, right? They have to go through that thing with the sand, get their puzzle pieces through that tunnel of sand, and then so that event. I think in the first round they eliminated Shaheen and Camilla. Shaheen fell really behind in this first phase, if you recall, and they never really got back into it. And then Mitch and Star were the other pair that should have done much better, because they got through the obstacle portion very quickly. But then once they got to the digging portion, they fell flat.
They didn't dig deep enough?
They did not dig deep enough.
You got to dig deep.
I'm just setting it up for him.
You think I have it on the hotkey by now.
Yeah.
You got to dig.
You got to dig deep.
Now you get a random Jeff Probst one just for fun.
Sometimes it's fun to just listen to the sounds of the challenge.
Was there like the trombone or the thing like, from like Curb?
It was like
Shoot. I'll be right back.
okay.
They dodoed music Probst.
Yeah,
That's what they
do. Anyway, so Foster, any comments or surprises in that first phase of the challenge?
No, like again, like I feel like the first phase like was basically all physical. Like there was no real like, especially when it came down, like you said, like Mitch and Star flew through the first part, but then as soon as it got into the dicking, which was the harder part, they just fell flat, right?
Why do you think? Why do you think that was? Lack
for
of
Mitch and Star,
yeah,
I think it was just like it's just. I feel like with the sand digging, it's just like a motor. Like you just gotta go, right? Like it's not really necessarily about strength. It's just a matter of just giving it. And for whatever reason, like I don't know if that was the exact reason why they fell flat at the end, because they whipped through the first part easily, but it speaks going back to like that was more the physical, teams in a sense got through it, right? Because then you saw, David and Mary and oh shoot, what was the third group?
Eva and Joe.
Ava, Joe, David and Mary, and the third group was
Kyle and Chrissy,
right? And I just, and then Chrissy's a fire captain, right? So she's got a little bit of that. She's not, on in the field as much, but anyways, like Kyle, like is Kyle, right? In terms of that strength, right? So, and Shaheen was just so far behind, he couldn't get through that first part, right? That they couldn't catch up. But anyways, the first part seemed pretty basic to me. Like it just seemed like it was more, like I said, motor than anything.
What did you think about the choice, the strategic choice in the game, so that so these two pairs that got eliminated in the first round, not only did they not get the shot at the immunity, but they're also sent on the journey to potentially lose their vote, which is ultimately what happens to Star eventually.
Well, I feel like what they're trying to do is like, and we've kind of said this the last couple of seasons, is they keep adding in or trying these new elements. It's almost like additional layers. You see it a lot with the immunity idols, where it's not just you find it; it's like you got to do something to get it, right? Or you have to like find the clue or like find it with a clue, and then you have to solve something to get it, kind of thing, right? So like, I feel like it's what they're doing is just adding layers to kind of make it a little more intricate. It definitely added the pressure to them to say, well, like you're going to go on a journey where you could lose your vote. I think we're going to talk about it more afterwards, or we can talk about it right now, actually, in terms of because those four go. And I thought the challenge of this ball, they had to remove the balls to, basically not get the red one and what have you. So it was like a strategic, like, I've seen this type of game before, not in Survivor, but, in terms of this whole, picking, like I see, like, it's
take one. Yeah. Where they had to like pick one, where they play one ball or two. And
yeah, like I've seen something like that similar, just process of elimination kind of thing, right? It's about luck and strategy in a sense. But
there was a strategy based on, and Star was targeted by Camilla specifically because she was Camilla was working with Mitch.
Yeah, it looked like it. So, and which I was surprised they weren't going against Shaheen. I thought that was a little odd, to be honest. I think you'd think Camilla, based on her situation, would want to use that opportunity to target Shaheen when she could.
Don't forget though, Shaheen is the 7th member of the Strong Five, and
I know this is where I'm just kind of like, I don't know, but when does it's kind of like an opportunity that Camilla, but it's again like, I feel like with Camilla and Kyle, like they're playing too under the radar. Like
Camilla should be trying to get players like Star on her side, though. That's what I think. Is kind of
So, but with regard, like I just also felt with when them going, I felt it like the challenge was kind of cool, that it was like, but it would have been cooler if like they were all on their own and you didn't know who lost their vote. Like they all had to do their own, and like up to 4 people could lose their vote, kind of thing, right? So that I thought that would have been a better idea in terms of like, oh, we know that Star lost her vote. They targeted her in that moment, and she lost. Like the challenge was cool, but I just felt like they could have made it a little bit more higher, even further higher stakes. But going back to I don't know, like what else?
The original immunity challenge.
Yeah, like what did you think of? Like I thought it could have been individual when they went on that journey.
I liked that kind of like you were incentivized to really want to try to win that first stage of this challenge, right? That it wasn't just about getting to the final to have a shot at immunity, but So I thought that was good. I wouldn't mind if we got that more in the early stages of the game, like maybe the losing tribe. Like they already have to go to tribal council, so maybe that's enough punishment in itself. But in this situation, I thought like, hey, no, you guys are now going to go on this journey instead of like, I guess, the winner picking who would go on the journey or something like that.
But they already take their flint ready. The losing tribe.
Yeah, there's enough. I guess there's enough punishments in the first stage of the game. Phase 2 of this challenge, after the eliminations of those two teams, was they had to create the puzzle staircase, the old classic here. We got to get the pieces, and then they had to go to a second stage where they had to do planks on ropes to kind of get, they had 3 planks for the 2 people to get them across these rope bridges. There was a kind of a disastrous epic fail, according to Jeff Probst, of the Chrissy Kyle pairing as they completely went through. But it was Mary and David, they did really well in that section, especially like with the ropes and the planks.
I'm surprised David just didn't, put her over his shoulder and just Donkey Konged it the rest of the way.
It's almost like that's what he wanted to do. He's like, I can just like put 2 pieces here and I'll just do a plank, and then she'll walk across my whole body and jump onto the platform. But that's quite how they did it there. I thought that section of the challenge was much more entertaining to watch than every time you got to crawl through a pit of sand and dig sand up. I'm bored to hell. But this was a better race, I thought, where they had to get the pieces and they got to go run up and down the stairs. It'd be a workout. And it was better TV, I thought, in this portion. And then, getting eventually into the final phase where they had to hold on to the tall pole as long as possible. And Foster, there's no way that those people climb up those poles to get started, right? In the challenge, they have to.
There must be some. I feel like especially with those footholds being so small, I feel like what they're doing, what they would have is essentially they have ladders. They all go up at the same time. They're allowed to hold on to the top, right? Because that'd be the easiest way to keep them up there. And then they have to slide down to their spot, like 20 or 30 seconds.
There's this huge like cutaway and time jump, and then all of a sudden all 4 of them are just up there.
And it's not like they're bringing in a crane or something, right? So and especially with how small the footholds are, it's not like they're they're asked to climb up them, right? Like I don't think that doesn't even look possible anymore, right? Because like Jeff said, like they reduce the groove so much that you can barely we've seen women in the past dominate this challenge because they can position their feet and it not hurt. Right. And I think it was last season. I can't remember exactly who won it. It was a female again, but she dominated because she wrapped her legs like Ava did. In the sense, it was
basically Mary. That was
Mary had you're basically pinning yourself rather than using any of the you're not even attempting to use the grooves.
Right, you're not using your feet or your hands really at all.
No, you're basically like kind of leaning back, and you're
using
you're
relying on your forearms.
Yeah, you're relying on your core and lower body strength, right?
So this is the opposite of last week's challenge, which was focused primarily on the upper body strength. Now you have the flip version of that.
Right, and we saw here that David goes out in a couple of minutes, maybe.
And Joe did not. It was not like with not having to be able to put any. It'll be interesting because Jeff made the comment too about how this is like the most iconic. Like you guys would know better than me, but I don't think it was the most iconic challenge.
To me, the most iconic one for whatever reason is that one with
Tom
and Ethan. Was it Ethan? Is it his name? The young lad.
Okay. Whoever Jeff? Tom went against.
Survivor Palau, I believe, right? Is that the season?
I don't think that's the most iconic.
Where they went like almost like 24 hours?
Yeah, that one was ridiculous because it was like a stupid challenge.
What was the challenge?
They just had to like stand on a platform in the middle of like a river.
Yeah, it was like stand on a log,
like on like a 1 foot
yeah.
by 1 foot little platform. For most people, this would be hard, but these two guys just, I don't know, found a way to. One of the guys was like 6'6". It would have been super hard for him. It was kind of similar where I think you could hug it, or you could hold on to it, or lean back if I'm remembering it correctly. But it wasn't as big and thick as like this one in this challenge.
It was just
wasn't big and thick, right? As you used to. It was a little small, you know, like so they couldn't wrap themselves around it and kind of like bring it in as much as they could. They could just, hold on to the shaft as much as possible.
Yeah,
you work really bring it into them.
Right down
really,
to the base.
Really white knuckle it, Jaemeel?
Right, white knuckle it, and oftentimes it just slide down to the base, the look of disappointment on all the faces. Yep.
Is it a slip and slide or a crocodile mile though? That was
you could go up and down the shaft, just
up and down the shaft.
All right. Well, I think we have to move on from this section, but
no. But the other thing too, I was going to mention too, with how Jeff had mentioned about how they made they've reduced over the seasons like the grooves or the footholds or whatever you want to call it for this challenge, right? Yes. So what I'm interested to see is another one that you could put in that category of iconic is the one where they've got the walls with the pegs and they go smaller and smaller down, when they got to put them, and they're basically using their forearms.
That's like where they have they're kind of in a big rectangle thing, and it's more.
I feel like that one's probably like a top 5. If you want to generalize it,
because that one you're more in more pain. You can see the pain on the players' faces more as they're dealing with these small.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see like what that one would be like this season, because if he's making references to, I feel like because last season and the season before, especially when I was on the podcast, I was saying a lot like change it up, like do something different, like these guys. And what I've noticed this season is not only are they've added some new elements, but they're noticeably making their usual ones harder. Not all of them. Like I think tonight was the most apparent in terms of like this is very hard to accomplish. But at least they're trying. Like I feel like they've had they're gonna do this, like we talked about it, like it's almost like a 2, 3, maybe 4 season run of like trying all these new different things, whether it's idols finding or challenges or gameplay in a sense, like ahead of 50. I don't really I feel like that's really what they've been trying to accomplish.
Well, a lot of these challenges to me feel very much the same. Yes, you have twists on this or that, but they don't do the combat challenges anymore, and they don't do the eating of the weird foods anymore. And they sometimes they'll do the auction, but a lot of times they don't. And so and like I've said, I want to change the scenery. I want them to leave Fiji. I'd like them to kind of even make these challenges a little different. But hey, I get it.
It should be more strategy based and less like physically demanding. I don't think people really care anymore about any it's not a reason to watch the show.
It's not a reason to root for this player is so good at like holding onto a pole or so good at puzzles
it used to be, but like it's now we've seen it so many times and we've seen the same challenges and the same type of people do well at them. And like you knew right away when it was the pole holding, like you knew a girl was winning that. Like there was no way the guy was going to win that.
Did you like? Because Jane picked Eva to win it, and I was thinking Mary was going to win it.
It was one of the two. It was not going to be David. Like.
No, and Joe held on a little longer than David, but yeah, that kind of challenge does not support. The heavier you are, the worse it is.
So why are we having challenges? Like, I get they're iconic or whatever. Why are we having challenges that are just like a girl's gonna win, or a guy's gonna win, whatever. It's
make
just
them more. Well, yeah, I guess you had to be in a pair, and you had to get to the end with that person. But
I liked the challenge today with the balls. That was my favorite one. I thought that was like, oh, that's actually it's just strategy.
I was kind of hoping for that one they were gonna keep playing until one person won, and they chose who lost their vote.
That would have been cool. I would have really liked that, because the fact that they just ended the game after like 3 people basically ganged up on one person, and that was kind of like whatever. But like I didn't love that part. But yeah, I agree with Jaemeel. Like it would have been way more interesting it would have been even cooler had the person that ended up like last or like won or whatever actually was the person that lost their vote, and then you had to purposely try to get the red balls, like or something like that. You could have reversed the challenge too, like you know what I mean. Like there's a bunch of different things you could do with that challenge that is actually quite interesting. And if you want to make them swim first or whatever the hell crap to make them tired, I don't care, but make it like end it on a strategy thing instead of like a puzzle or an endurance challenge. That's just me though. I think that's where it needs to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. So anyway, Eva wins. Foster, Jaemeel, were you happy for Eva? She had her moment in the sun there with Jeff putting the necklace around her.
I am obligated to say that I was very happy that Eva won. No reason. No, look, I was happy that Eva won. Because one, she's a character that I do kind of want to see later on. Like, I don't necessarily look at this situation in terms of the vote out.
Becky saying Eva.
I don't look at this situation as necessarily a bad thing that we're seeing a lot of these ho-hum players being eliminated, because I kind of want to see the end
best
be
of the best at the end.
Yeah, like I want to see people kind of dig their their feet into the stands and want to make a stand and really push and not really go with the flow. And it's coming to that point where
they've eliminated all the pushovers, I would say.
Someone is going to come to a point where someone's going to say, hey, we need to break up Joe and Eva. And it's not going to be a Chrissy that's saying it. It's going to be someone like a Kyle or Shaheen or even a David, right? And there's going to be butting of heads, and we're going to see some real, people knuckling up. And so I can't wait for that. If that's what we're going to get, if it's going to be like, well, David kind of screwed up, so David gets eliminated, and then we get Shaheen, and it's Eva and Joe, and the rest of the Cadillac Kids, Heathcliff's sidekicks in that animated show, just hanging around, being the B storyline that no one really cares about. So I want to see the competition. Give it to me.
Bring on the competition. Well, let's also okay. So we talked a lot about that the punishment or the journey with the games with the ball. What about the reward, guys? I don't know if you heard, but there was an afternoon of tacos.
Beef tacos, chicken tacos, veggie tacos, guacamole, salsa, and chocolate cupcakes for dessert.
No milk? No milk?
No milk. No chocolate cupcakes.
Gotta be soft drinks.
Maybe skim milk. No whole milk. We can't give you everything at once here. Sorry, David. But did David go on the reward? No, he didn't go on the reward, did he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. Of course. He was in the final. He was in the final group there. Yeah. So this is where they cook up the plan to go after Camilla, right? Is that on this?
No, it was basically just David and Mary just steamrolling the idea throughout the whole.
And Joe was like, "Okay, well, I guess let's get out."
Like Joe doesn't seem like he's willing to go to war for anyone right now other than Ava.
Yeah, and I guess he's like, well, as long as it's not me or Eva, how hard do I want to push, right? So, and this is what will be the drama sort of leading up to the vote, where, they come back, and because I think Kyle and Chrissy, because they were in that weird middle section where they didn't go on the punishment or whatever, but they didn't get to go on the reward either. So it was just the two of them back at camp for a little bit. Not that it led to any kind of working together here whatsoever. Well, Kyle was trying to protect Chrissy, I guess, inadvertently in this thing, but not because he cared about Chrissy's place in the game at all.
But he thought he could use it to kind of vote out Shaheen. And
right. Yeah.
Nope. Once again, because of David and David and Mary's planning, they technically thwarted the plan that would have eliminated Shaheen from the game, which would have made Camilla a non-factor.
Yeah, well, I think taking out Camilla was not a bad move. If you're David and Mary,
it's not a bad move if you have complete oversight of the entire game. But
right.
if you're just like a regular player in the game, Camilla is considered a small fry instead of Shaheen.
Yeah, it's because they don't have this information that Camilla is working with Kyle, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to put this together, but they don't know that, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense to them to go after Camilla. If they did know that, it would make complete sense. And Kyle then has to try to talk them out of it without blowing up his game, which I think he ends up having to do because he has to fight so hard to keep Camilla here. There's a lot. I guess Shaheen's name is thrown out a bit. Was there anyone else considered? Because it doesn't feel like Star doesn't have a vote, but it doesn't feel like Mitch does anything here. It doesn't feel like even Chrissy
Mitch
does anything.
Mitch and Chrissy were more or less looking for the the Siva group to come together, right? To vote at.
But David had no interest in that. You can see it right on his face.
Yeah, immediately
when he gets approached, he's like, "Oh yeah." And that what happened, guys? It was only 15 days ago. Siva strong. Remember? Where's my overlay of Siva when I need it? Remember the good old days when we had Charity? No. So I then there's this whole thing where they want Kyle tries to flip it back on anyone but Camilla. It ends up being Chrissy. And they kind of debate that back and forth. Eva really wants as well to get out Camilla. I don't really understand that as much because I thought that Eva did want to get out Chrissy. And that was kind of talked about earlier in the episode. So that was a little confusing. Or even there was the whole thing with the Sivas trying to get a Logie out and trying to run the numbers that way. Ultimately, it is Chrissy here in a unanimous vote. So there's something they don't show us here because David and Mary had to have been on this plan, right?
It almost feels like it was like the last straw was just Chrissy burying herself with Tribal, and David calling her out, being like, "Oh, you're just complaining that you're on the wrong season," kind of thing.
Do you think David changed his vote?
I think he was. I don't know. I feel like it was one of two things. It was one, like they did, like because Joe had mentioned earlier that Chrissy literally said my name, right, to Kyle, right, and so, but we all see the preview next week of David said you didn't follow through. Right.
Yeah. So, but how could they vote unanimously if they're not on the same page?
So there's obviously something, or
unless someone told them just before Tribal. Before Tribal, probably said we're.
Yeah. Somehow Joe makes this call because it's kind of like Joe's in the middle between Kyle and David's, them pushing hard for their respective agendas, and he's like, at the last minute, Joe goes, "Okay, David, sorry, we're all voting Chrissy. There's no more time to talk about it. Just do it." And that's maybe what happens here. I credit to Chrissy for trying to, do something at Tribal tonight. I think she knew she was sort of out of it. I think I was a little bit surprised that Joe and her were not more of a team because they're both firefighters. How often do you get to play with another firefighter in the same season? Remember, Officer Sarah and Tony.
Sarah.
They start to the cops stick together, Jeff.
Cops are us.
That's it.
Jeff, if you were on a season with another postman, would you feel loyalty?
No.
Vote this person off. There can only be one.
I'd probably want them out right away.
You want them out right away. Even if they were USPS, or especially if they were USPS.
Oh, and then especially. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it didn't matter here for Chrissy. She has no one standing up for her, trying to save her. I don't think she mattered to anybody ultimately enough.
I think that's ultimately.
So bitter.
Yeah. She's, being the oldest, she went last in our draft because, she's the oldest person on the cast. But I don't think that has to mean that you can't win the season. But man, it feels like a huge disadvantage.
Sue almost won last year.
It happens, but anyway. So let's hear Chrissy's exit. Let's see if there's any final takeaways there.
I just got voted off, baby, but no regrets whatsoever. I went out swinging with my head held high because these people are strong. They're killing challenges and they're going to run this game. But now they have to go back and deal with the repercussions, see how fast they get picked off. So I'm just glad I got to try to knock them down, and it didn't work, but I'm okay with that.
Should Chrissy be okay with her game, Jaemeel?
Yeah, why not? Like, look, at a certain point, you kind of have to play with the cards you were dealt. And pretty early on, especially once Merge came around, she did not have the relationships to kind of last long in this game. And so you kind of work with what you had. She played, and it wasn't a winning hand. She didn't have the cards, as I've been told. Right? Having the cards are important. And you have to have the cards.
Got to know when to fold them and hold them and all those things. Okay, well, as we mentioned a couple times as well, Chrissy was a member of Team Sean in our draft. So Sean is out of this draft now. He had the first pick and the last pick. Cedric was not a good first pick.
No,
I'm just going to say that Sean. Cedric may be one of the weaker first picks ever. Chrissy, not a terrible, she did better than Cedric by 1 week or by a day. So, take that for what it is.
Sean, I feel for you, but I'd rather you be out than me. Okay, I only have Camilla left, so
yeah. Jameel's got Camilla. I have Kyle. Foster has Eva and Mitch. Jane's got Shaheen.
Jose Bautista.
Who's Jen got? Jen's got Star still in the game. Daryl has Joe.
Frank Grillo.
Joe's lost some weight.
Frank Grillo.
Frank Grillo.
That's great. That's great, actually.
Yeah, Daryl still has Joe. Jeff still has Mary. Jaemeel has Camilla. And Amanda has David. So has
Chris Evans.
Has Amanda been watching the season?
Chris Evans and John Bernthal had a baby. That's David.
Has Amanda been watching the season?
No.
All right, just check. Well, she's not, on the podcast, so I guess. But
no, she I don't think she has watched a season since 42.
Wow,
oh.
It's been a while. Once it went to this 29-day, whatever the hell they do, 26-day. She was just I'm out.
Even with the hour and a half episode, is it not more that?
I think it made it worse for her. She was everything they did, she was not a fan, and then she this is my whole thing is she watched 38 seasons of that show, and she was like, you know what, I'm done. Whatever.
You know what? I've had enough. All right. Well,
yeah, I'm done. You've ruined it. You've ruined the show.
Me and the Amazing Race. Can't watch that show.
You have not had enough. Let's see what's coming up in the next episode. Episode 9 of this Survivor 48.
You went back on your word.
Next time on Survivor.
Should have been easy.
This could blow up my whole game.
I'm with you. Okay.
They are working together.
Who's the meter has changed?
They're extremely paranoid.
Welcome to the party, David. Let's party.
Let's party.
Backflip.
But isn't this exciting?
I guess, yeah. I feel like we could get some good drama in this next episode.
It isn't and Star gets eliminated, and you're just oh well.
Well, yeah. So if that's what the result of the next episode is, I will be disappointed. If it's Star, but on the other hand, maybe I shouldn't be, because maybe to your point, this will make the finale so much more epic because we have all these huge, big personalities and competitors and players getting rid of the Chrissies and the Stars, and
Shaheen picks up Mitch, and then each member of the strong five. Not to reduce Eva to just as a sidekick, but just imagine that there's just all these pairs of these really tough, smart competitors and David, and they're just competing. And that is exciting. A final 8 of just that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that could be good.
And it isn't like a physical challenge. It's like a one where it's like an inch is the difference between winning and losing. That would make great television.
Let's do it. Foster, any final thoughts as we head into the next episode?
I'm ready to see some clashes. I'm happy it's not just going to like be like easy going or whatever till final 5 that they were or 6, whatever they were hoping for, right? So let's see some fireworks.
Let's do it. More tacos.
I gotta get
beef tacos, chicken tacos.
They'll have all the tacos. All right. Well, I just want to see if we got the next episode's title.
The Davids must be crazy.
No, I don't. Yeah, David sucks is probably what the name of the next episode is. It just says episode 9.
Spilt milk.
Spilled milk, spilled chocolate milk. I like that. Okay, well, I guess we'll sign off for tonight, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another podcast here as we cover Survivor 48. Check out our other channels, like on the United Federation of Podcasts, including shows like Live Long and Podcast, our Star Trek channel, where we got, right now we're covering For All Mankind on Monday nights. We're doing Star Trek The Next Generation on Thursday nights. We also have our friends over on Hold Up are on tonight. They're doing an East Coast movie marathon. I know Hobo with a Shotgun is one of them. They're on there with Heather Narduzzi, often contributor Live Long. I guess it looks like they're off the air finally. They were on there for 2.5 hours, guys. So it's The Secret of Algernon, Hobo with a Shotgun, and Who's Your Daddy, I think. So thank you, Becky. We hope you're feeling better. We hope your laryngitis is clearing up. And
she's going to be 100% for the next episode. She's good.
Yeah. We should have Jason R. Phillips back with us next week as well from Hades as he continues his month-long celebration to turn 40.
Yes.
I was like, oh, man, happy birthday. How was Chicago? And he goes, man, my birthday's not for another week.
Yeah.
Or 10 days. So it's always Jason's birthday in April.
It's always. It's always. I hope everyone has a great holiday season.
Yeah, it's Easter
over the weekend.
Yeah.
There's that holiday. It's also WrestleMania weekend. Please, everyone, be safe with how you enjoy your WrestleMania.
They do WrestleMania on Easter weekend.
This WrestleMania is on Easter.
Do you think Vince is gonna make an appearance?
No, Vince is unnecessarily needed. Dana White, on the other hand, might show up in the crowd.
Right. Do they still do America the Beautiful?
They haven't, except they played the American national anthem when they did the pay-per-view in Toronto, and of course it got booed.
They never used to do the anthems at just Raw or whatever pay-per-views, right?
From occasion, but Vince never liked the Star Spangled Banner. He liked America the Beautiful. So he would often have that done at WrestleMania or at big events. But for whatever reason, when they did Elimination Chamber, which was the last pay-per-view, which was in Toronto, they played the American national anthem and, of course, got the reaction that they were kind of looking for.
Even though they weren't in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were doing it for...
just to see if the crowd would boo it.
Well, why not?
Mission accomplished, I guess. All right. Well, with all that, check out our great podcast, everybody. And we'll leave you this clip. We'll see you next time here for Super Mario Brothers Podcast. Have a great night.
An afternoon of tacos. Beef tacos, chicken tacos, veggie tacos, guacamole, salsa, and chocolate cupcakes for dessert.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers.